Welcome to the Practitioner's Heart, offering practical Buddhist wisdom for therapists and healthcare workers. If you are keen to deepen your practice beyond the theoretical understanding of Buddhism, if you are finding it hard to calm your little active mind after therapy work, I welcome you to join me to dive a little deeper. Each episode, I'll be sharing some common issues that therapists may face when integrating and practicing awareness, compassion within themselves and also supporting clients. I'll be sprinkling some pearls of wisdom that I've learned from my master and teachers that will be helpful as internal resources. I'll also be interviewing other therapists who are on this spiritual path together to share their experiences of how they practice wisdom and compassion in their daily lives. I want to let you know that you're not alone. You are part of a bigger community who aspire for greater soul alignment, growth, and awakening. That we can strike a balance of juggling our busy modern life as therapists with a clear mind and an open heart. I hope to inspire more practitioners to explore deeper spiritual meaning and purpose on our path to enlightenment. I'm your host, Po Gan, a psychologist, a Buddhist practitioner, a parent of 2 children, a fellow human being with a busy mind, but with a great inspired vision for collective awakening. Let's begin. Welcome back to the Practitioner's Heart. I'm so sorry because I haven't been able to keep up with the weekly episodes. So I've decided to honor my capacity and stop hustling myself to stay on top of schedules. Ideally, I would like to do it every week, but hopefully as I ease back into the routine, I will be able to invite more guests come and join me, and we'll have more rich conversations coming soon. Today, I want to explore the difference between cognitive insight, like theoretical understanding, and embodied clarity. This idea about knowing is not the same as seeing clearly. We can know a lot in theory, but how we actually live and practice and maintain that embodied clarity in our daily lives is fundamentally different. The more I practice, the more I realize that the most meaningful shifts, the ones that show and change how we show up in the therapy room, doesn't really come from thinking harder or absorbing more worldly knowledge. They come from being aware of what we're thinking and feeling while remaining steady and grounded. This kind of presence is not something that intellectually you produce by absorbing more knowledge. As psychologists, we love insight, and we help the clients to name the patterns, to track the thoughts, what happened before and after. We identify schemas and we make meaning. And of course, helping clients to make values-aligned choices is incredibly important. But insight alone doesn't really make the reactivity of the mind disappear. Insight alone does not regulate the nervous system. Insight alone doesn't really make the mind less sticky or less inclined to cling on to its habitual tendencies and preferences. Many clients say, or actually maybe we say this ourselves, oh, I know what I need to do, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I know I need to stop doom scrolling after work, but I just keep going. I know I shouldn't yell at my children, but in the heat of the moment, I just can't hold my anger. And I guess these are the old survival habits returning, habits that are stronger than our insight. It's like a force that has that undercurrent that brings us to do the things that we said we don't want to do, but we just do it anyway. In Buddhist psychology, there's a helpful way of understanding this gap. I'm actually excited to dive into this a bit more with the Bodhi Inner Path Circle community through the dynamics of the mind, this book, and where we are going to explore the teachings of Reverend Ming An Chen to explore the seventh and eighth consciousness. But for today, here's a brief introduction. The seventh consciousness is the habitual mind, the mind that clings and grasps, compares, revolves around me, and it creates a lot of preferences, attachments, aversions, this sense of I like this, I don't like this. As we move through the world, encountering different sensations through our senses, we come into contact with whatever that we experience, what we see, hear, touch, taste, smell. We discriminate and form preferences. Ooh, I like this. This is soft. Oh, this is too loud. This one we know very well. We all have preferences into the food that we like. I like noodle soup over dry noodles. The preferences themselves are fine, but over time, they become a force, like a pre-programmed pattern that influence how we perceive, how we react, and how we make decisions. Our thoughts, even our nervous system responses, our sensory preferences, our identity, our mindset, all become part of these pre-existing programming. So what are some of the familiar habitual tendencies for therapists, do you think? This need to be perfect or to be competent, this urge to fix and problem solve, perhaps some of the self-sacrificing or pushing through exhaustion, even though we're really, really tired, but we just ignore the signals, and the fear of getting it wrong, or people pleasing, fear of missing out. I guess therapists are humans, and these are not something that is specifically for therapists, but we tend to cling on to the labels, the roles, the shoulds, what I should do as this person. Part of our cultivation and practice as a practitioner is to become aware of these programming, these preferences, these attachments, and these habitual tendencies. In ACT terms, these are the patterns we get fused with, the thinking, the thoughts that we are getting fused with. The ones that we try to get rid of through emotional avoidance. I don't like to confront my fear. And that resisting are some part of our pre-programming patterns. When we talk about embodied clarity, on the other hand, we are referring to the capacity to be openly aware of what's happening in our mind, even the subtle currents, even the strong waves of habits, without automatically acting on them. That is the process of being aware, being open, and being engaged in the here and now. When we have that embodied clarity of that openness and awareness, we can use arms and legs to take actions towards our values, the things that we value and the things that matters to us. Then we can make great choices, right? And when we see those habitual tendencies, these unspoken forces shaping our behavior and our choices, that's the time that we pause and think about, is this helping me? Is this working for me? And we don't have to reinforce the same old patterns again and again. When we are no longer tightly identified with these patterns, we can recognize them for what they are. Much like becoming that vast ocean, that clear blue sky, when we are able to watch the waves and clouds come and go without being swept away. These embodied clarity from this standpoint of luminous awareness, usually our nervous system is calm and open, even when the force of our mind karma, the seventh consciousness, is strong. We can notice them and we can have a space to decide whether we wanted to follow them or not, right? And even if there is this strong current of the habitual force moving us to do certain things, when that storm passes, yes, it can be intense and it can be strong, but we know that they are impermanent. They are only temporary. And if we don't continue to stir it up or grasp onto it, it will naturally subside. When we can see that we are the ones that are holding on to these patterns through clinging, sometimes the grip naturally loosens a little bit. Each time when we don't reinforce a habitual tendency, it weakens. Each time when we observe it with clarity, we strengthen our capacity for awareness, for awakening. In Buddhist practice, the first step for cultivation and practice is always awareness. Awareness to observe our habitual tendencies, understanding how they were formed, and cultivating a relationship of neither identifying with them, attaching to them, nor rejecting them. When we can relate to our habitual patterns in this way, they come and go naturally. We don't fight them. We don't try to get rid of them. We observe with open awareness. And I think this is how we unlearn, how we return home to our true nature. And from this perspective of our innate Buddha nature, enlightenment is not something that we gain, but it's something that we uncover, unfold. Our Buddha nature neither increases nor decreases. And so why don't we realize it? It's with us 24/7, but we can't really see them or can't really witness them. It is because we have a lifetime of conditioning that keep us tangled up in all this rise and fall of thoughts and feelings and sensations, and we think that they are real. And we kind of like hold them really close to our face and really engross in them because we like them. We attach to them a lot. And cultivation, part of the practices is to learning to see the clinging, whether it is internally or externally. And are we pursuing something and trying to make something remain the same, or pursuing a name and fame, or internally, or pursuing the next thought, the next interesting thought, and next thought that gives us more suffering sometimes. But when we are able to observe and see we are pursuing again, we are grasping them too tightly again, then we gently untangle and gently loosening them. Returning to that pristine, innate nature is an ongoing process. in daily life and also in silent meditation practice. It sounds easy, but in the actual practices, it can be a little bit tricky because it feels like we are going against that force of nature, force of habitual tendencies. And for a lot of us who are unenlightened, yet we usually go about our life with our habitual tendencies. Learning to practice and cultivate, for me, it means that the moment when we see us clinging to the thoughts, clinging to the language concepts, clinging to our feelings, and the strong feelings that shows up, that is the moment to soften. The moment when we realize that we are in a trance of thinking, engaging one thought after another, and ruminating certain things that happened in the past over and over again, that is the moment to return to that clarity, return to that open awareness. This is where meditation, chanting, and breath practices, or sometimes just observing as much as possible, moment to moment, that moment to moment awareness really support us because they slow down that winds of thoughts and allowing our body to really settle. When we're grounded in that steady, present moment awareness, the grasping at the preferences or that force of our habitual tendencies tends to slow down and quiet down because we're less likely to touch or push away that feelings. We like certain good feelings. We hang on to them and we wanted to have more and more of these happy feelings, excitement feelings. And when we dislike certain feelings and sensations, we tend to ooh, I don't want that. And the moment where we started to engage in that tug of war with our feelings, that's where we are falling into, we're going with our habitual tendencies. But the moment when we step out and step back and unhook ourselves, that's the time that we are back to that embodied clarity. It is like this glitter jar. I'm not sure if you have created one before. I've created that with some of my clients and also with my kids when they were younger. When you stop shaking them, the glitters in the water actually settled. And then we realize that we are not the glitter. We are the clear water that holds the glitter, right? I guess as therapists, we are incredibly well trained in analyzing and thinking. And our case conceptualization, our case formulation, we're very good at analyzing what's happening externally outside of our skin. And perhaps some are very self-aware. At the same time, I just noticed that we have this strong habit of thinking over and over and over. And this is actually a really strong habit of analyzing that we sometimes may be unaware of. Our insight about other people can be crystal clear, but sometimes because we constantly engage in those thinking, we don't have a lot of space in us because we haven't practiced not engaging with the thinking mind, with the mind's activity. It's like everything that pops up in our head, we immediately cling on to them. And we forget what it is like to return home to that pristine, clear water in that glitter jar. And I guess this is probably the reason why I wanted to start this Embodied Inner Path circle, this community space for therapists to practice meditation, to have that reflective practice so that they can reconnect with that inner stillness, so that we don't just talk about clarity, but we actually embody that. I truly believe that these practices will make us happier, more at ease, and our work can be more sustainable and compassionate to ourselves and to others. So as you get into this week, and see if we can notice where you might be relying on that cognitive insight alone, engaging in analysis over and over and over again. Sometimes we like to have that analysis paralysis that we get into inaction, and where it is all too much and just the thinking itself can make us feel overwhelmed, and then we stop engaging in helpful behavior. We don't know which way to go, and then we choose not to do anything. And perhaps notice when your body tightens because of that habitual patterns of thinking and feeling, stirring and stirring again, chewing and rechewing some of the thoughts that come in. Should I do this? Should I do that? What if I'm missing something here? And the replay of the therapy sessions over and over again. And this is the time to really take a deep breath and see if you can soften that grip and return. And maybe just let go a little bit. And have that inhale and exhale a little bit longer. And really, and let it go. And rest in that open spaciousness beneath all the inner chattering. Let's see if we can return back to that clear blue sky underneath all the clouds of thinking, the clouds of feelings, the clouds of all the... And I hope today's reflection helps you to find a little bit more spaciousness and clarity in yourself. And with that open heart, we can do great work. Be content with where we are at, no matter where we are at. And I think I'm saying that to myself. See you next week. As we close our practice for today, I want to thank you for sharing this time. If this episode resonated with you, the most meaningful way to support the podcast is to share it. Share it with a colleague or leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps our community to reach other people who need it. Until next time, keep your heart open, keep your mind clear and steady. Go be your amazing self as you awaken yourself and others. See you next time. Just a gentle reminder that our conversation today is for inspiration and education only. It is not a substitute for therapy or clinical supervision, and our time together doesn't constitute a therapeutic relationship. If today's episode resonated with you and you would like to have a steadier, more grounded way of being, both in your work and in your personal life, you're warmly invited to explore the Bodhi Inner Path Circle. You can learn more or join us through the link in the show notes, and I'd love to welcome you into the circle. We're starting in July, every second Friday at 1 p.m. Western Australia time, for an hour. So one session every month will be purely guided meditation practice. The other session every month, the fourth Friday of the month, will be all about coming together in a group, engage in reflection in a book club. We read Buddhist book chapters and teachings. We then reflect on how we integrate the teachings and practice as therapists. It is going to be a nurturing and nourishing way to wrap up the work week. So register now to join us on the 10th of July. With the founding member offer opening now, it is a great investment for your well-being and your wisdom life. And I pledge to donate $10 out of every membership every month through Support the Building Fund to build a meditation hall in WA. So your membership, your practice with us every month also support a bigger good cause to enable more people to practice and benefit from the teachings. So self-care does not need to be done in isolation. Self-care can also be done in collective care in community.